Shooting an Elephant, A Moral Dilemma by Avian Mahalat.
George Orwell, whose real name was Eric Arthur Blair, was a British writer famous for his critiques of social and political injustices. He's best known for his novel 1984, which imagines a scary future under totalitarian government. Orwell's own life experiences shaped his viewings and writings. Orwell was born in Bengal, India, where his father worked for the British government. His early connection to the British colonialism influenced his later dislike of imperialism. In 1922, he joined the Indian Imperial Police in Burma. Seeing the harshness of the British rule up close made him unhappy with imperialists' policies, leading him to quit in 1927. Orwell's early connection to British colonialism influenced his later dislike of imperialism. From the Orwell biography.
Overall, Orwell's view in Shooting an Elephant is shaped by his time as a colonial officer in Burma. He felt sympathy for the oppressed Burmese and criticized the injustices of imperialism. The story shows his struggle with the expectations of being an imperial officer while also hating imperialism, highlighting the moral dilemmas that he faced. The story is set in Molmen, a town in Lower Burma, during the British colonial period, where the narrator states, "In Molmen in Lower Burma, I was hated by large numbers of people." This setting is crucial as it reflects the tensions and conflicts between the British rulers and the Burmese people. Now, these were the characters that were in the story. First was the narrator, who was a sub-divisional police officer in Burma, who was disliked by the locals. He felt trapped between his duties as an officer, but also his personal dislike for the imperialism. He states, "I was a sub-divisional police officer of the town, and in an aimless, petty kind of way, anti-European feeling was very bitter." Next were the Burmese people, and they resented the British rule and often expressed their bitterness through minor acts of rebellion and mockery towards the narrator. He states, "The sneering yellow faces of young women met me everywhere. The insults hooted after me." Next was the elephant. It was a tame elephant that goes on a rampage, causing destruction all over the town. And the narrator states, "It was not, of course, a wild elephant, but a tame one which had gone musk."
In Molmen, Burma, a British police officer is deeply disliked by the local population, reflecting the tensions of the British imperial rule. One day, he's called to handle a rampaging elephant. The elephant had suddenly reappeared in the town. The officer takes his rifle and heads to the scene. Unsure of what to do, he finds the elephant peacefully grazing, no longer a threat, but feels intense pressure from the large crowd of Burmese people who expect to kill the animal. Pressing me forward irresistibly. Despite not wanting to shoot the elephant, in quotes, I did not in the least bit want to shoot him. He feels compelled to do so to avoid looking foolish. He shoots the elephant multiple times, causing him to die a slow death. The officer later reflects on how imperial forces act individuals against their will to maintain authority and avoid ridicule. Says, I often wondered whether of any other grasp that I had done it solely to avoid looking a fool. The incident leaves him feeling guilty and conflicted about his role in the British Empire.
The main central conflict, despite his reluctance to kill the animal, the pressure from the local Burmese crowd forces him to act against his better judgment. The situation highlights the internal and external conflicts faced by the narrator, torn between his role as a colonial officer and his personal beliefs against imperialism.
Conflict can be found between personal morals and societal expectations, showing the destructive nature of authoritative pressure on both the oppressor and the oppressed.
The story starts with the narrator, a British police officer in Burma, feeling torn. He hates his job and the British Empire, but also upset by the way that the Burmese people treated him. This sets up his internal conflict, showing his mixed feelings about his role but the people that he's also overseeing. As the story continues, the conflict is growing stronger. When the narrator is asked to deal with the wild elephant, he feels the expectations of the local people weighing in on him. He notes, "I could feel their 2,000 wills pressing me forward irresistibly." Even though he knows the elephant is no longer dangerous, and to him, which he quotes, "It seemed to me that it would be murder to shoot him." He ends up shooting the elephant anyways to avoid looking weak in front of the crowd. This shows how the societal pressure can force someone to act against their morals. The moment he shoots the elephant is the climax of the story, which he later reflects, "I often wondered whether any of the others grasped that I had done it to solely avoid looking a fool." His decision was not driven by necessity, but by the need to conform to what society had expected of him. By the end, the narrator feels deep guilt and realizes the emptiness of his authority. He understands now that when the white man turns tyrant, it is his own freedom that he destroys. This final thought sums up the theme, showing that the pressures of power can make people act against their beliefs, leading to a loss of their own integrity but also personal freedom.
Shooting Elephant by George Orwell and Night by Ellie Wessel show how oppressive systems force people into difficult situations. In Shooting an Elephant, Orwell feels pressured in shooting elephant to avoid looking foolish, even though he knows it's wrong. He says, "I'd done it solely to avoid looking a fool." Similarly, in Night, Wessel describes how the Nazis' oppression strips away the prisoner's humanity and freedom. "We just returned from work. As it soon we passed the camp's entrance, we sensed something was out of the ordinary," he says. For the Nazis may have known deep down it was wrong, but still did it regardless of the regimen. But both stories highlight the struggle to maintain personal integrity and freedom under oppressive regimens.
Shooting an Elephant teaches us about the challenges of power and the moral dilemmas that they can create. His story shows how the pressures and the need to keep control can lead people to do things that they know is not right. It is a reminder that we should think about the impact of our actions and the power that can affect our decisions. This story makes us think about what it means to make ethical choices and how they can shape our communities.
Part of Shooting an Elephant is the intense moment when Orwell realizes he has to shoot the elephant because of the expectations of the crowd. This part highlights the conflict between his personal morals and the pressure of his role. If you like thought-provoking stories about moral dilemmas and the effects of power, you'll love Shooting an Elephant. We rate this story a 4.5 out of 5 stars.